Hi, welcome to Messier Mantra. I'm your host, Mike Messier. On this episode, we have a very special guest, legendary fight promoter.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Jimmy Burchfield Sr.
Thanks for having me here.
Great to have you. On this episode, we're going to talk about kind of a new promotion, 5 years into it, CES, Classic Entertainment Sports, MMA, which stands for Mixed Martial Arts. What brought you to get into the MMA world?
It wasn't easy. At first, I was 100% against it.
Right.
I thought it would. We're one of the only national promotional company that does both boxing and MMA. Our credentials stand for itself in the boxing world, and I felt as if Rhode Island would not regulate it. They didn't want no part of MMA.
Right.
As most states at that point. But basically, for 2 or 3 years, they tried to propose it at the State House, and it would maybe go up a couple of notches, but never get approved. And consequently, I was lobbying against it.
Right.
Because I just thought it would destroy boxing.
Right.
Didn't know much about it at all. But then to myself, I'm looking at this thing getting bigger and bigger. I'm saying, well, we better find out what this is all about.
Right.
So we went out and we got what we thought were the best in the MMA world, especially in the New England area.
Right.
Matchmakers and people who were doing this. But there were so many little events that were done in downstairs cellars.
Right.
And they were gypsy events. There were no regulations. One guy would be fighting somebody weighing 250 and he weighed 150. So they could do just about anything. And they were making a lot of money doing it.
Right.
But as it started getting somewhat regulated,
Right.
The state here finally said, listen, we want your help with this.
Right.
And consequently, there were maybe, I think at that time, maybe 15 or 20 MMA promotional companies in New England.
Right.
In the Northeast. But remember, none of them were regulated.
Right.
They knew nothing about regulations.
Haphazard affairs,
Right. We in the boxing world, for 26 years, we were regulated.
Right.
We knew what had to be done. Medicals and federal IDs and safety and everything for the benefit
classes,
of
cornermen,
right, the weight classes and everything else. And consequently, when we thought we had everything in order, that we could do this,
right,
okay, from getting the cage, going and see hundreds of fights, figuring who are the fighters that we're going to go after,
right,
and who are we really want. And there was one individual here in New England that was a superstar. His name was Mike Campbell.
Okay.
He was really. Everyone wanted to see him fight.
Right.
He was a good-looking kid who could fight.
Right.
He could grapple. He could stand up and fight. He had the whole package. So finally, we figured we have that set, and we know what we're going to do. We have our team in order. We have an infrastructure to do this right, and we had a couple of arenas that we talked to see that. They'd allow us to do MMA because we were doing boxing at their places. And we went out, and I went out, and I lobbied and put every knowledge and wisdom I had of regulations and rules, and even talked to people, commissioners that worked with us from Las Vegas to other countries and everything else. And we knew we were ready.
Right.
So now we went down to the State House and we lobbied on behalf of MMA.
Yep.
And getting it here in Rhode Island passed.
Nice.
And we did.
Nice.
And we opened up at a beautiful facility at Twin River Casino, and we did our first MMA show.
Nice.
And it was super great.
Yeah.
It's a younger audience.
Right.
It's when you get in that cage, you see so many different. I think that an MMA fighter can take a look at maybe taking a chance at boxing.
Right.
It's very hard for a boxer to do MMA.
With the ground and pound,
Exactly.
the grappling, yeah.
Correct. So there's just so much more. Now, I'm not saying one athlete is better than the other.
Right.
It's just that with the ground and everything you need to do with MMA, it's a little more challenging.
Right. And back in the day, I think, you know, the promotion UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship, started in 1993 by my memory.
Yes.
And Royce Gracie was the big name, and then you
Yes.
had the Dan Severn, the Ken Shamrock.
Yes.
But you also had some guys that were really just spectacle guys, Tank Abbott, just
Yep.
kind of a bar fighter. But what happened, in my understanding, is that MMA became its own sport. Like, instead of the jiu-jitsu guy versus the boxer versus the street fighter like Tank, suddenly you had guys, the next generations and that 2000 generation, learning all the aspects at one time.
Correct. And I think that a good athlete, a good MMA fighter, has maybe 5 different coaches
Right.
that teach them all them aspects. Wrestlers coming out of college and coming out of high school, they can become, if they're great athletes, they can become a great MMA fighter.
Right. And I've watched that show, you know, the reality TV show, The Ultimate Fighter, and I enjoy it because you see some of these guys who have that learning curve. They might be good at the boxing, the stand-up game, but they're not quite as good as the jiu-jitsu or the, you know, Muay Thai and all the different aspects.
Mike, it's so different of the boxing. You know, you very seldom, I mean, you see it, of course, where a fighter gets hit with a solid punch and he's done.
Right.
It happens, but sometimes it's like it's a wear down process.
Right.
Where a fighter in boxing is wearing down his opponent 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds, then he knocks him out.
Right.
In MMA, it's seconds.
Right.
It's seconds, and you see that an MMA fighter can have a record of 12-7.
Right.
Okay, that doesn't mean he's a bad fighter.
Right.
And because the records are so funny. I mean, there was an undefeated kid that was Mr. Everything that fought on our last MMA card.
Right.
And he got beat by he got in a hole and had a tap out in about 50 seconds of the first round.
Wow.
Just like that.
Right.
So and you know, but we try to put all of the entertainment value where we have the video screens, because
Right.
sometimes in boxing, the closer you are to the ring,
Right.
the better your seats are.
Right.
But in MMA, because of the cage and everything, sometimes further up.
Right.
So, but we try to make up for that where we put the video screens and we put a little more excitement into it.
Right.
But it is a great sport, and it's one of the greatest, fastest growing sports in the world.
Definitely.
And in the world, I
Yes.
mean, you know,
Brazil, Japan.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And I have to attribute on our MMA side that it's a young man that started with me as an intern, Patrick Sullivan, and after we started with the MMA and thought we had the best
Right.
matchmaking, because matchmaking, whether it's boxing or MMA,
Right.
That's one of the most important components.
Right.
Is matchmaking.
The subtleties. And
Exactly.
yeah.
And you know, we have a fighter that fights under the. It's a little confusing in certain ways if UFC with their and Bellator with the success that they have done, and where, you know, they're doing shows where they're putting 120,000 people in an arena.
Right.
The situation is that it's still a competitive sport.
Right.
And matchmaking, you know, when you say the UFC or Bellator announces this fighter is fighting for the world championship.
Right.
We can't do that in boxing
Okay.
because we are sanctioned by sanctioning bodies.
Okay, by WBC, WBF.
Exactly.
Right.
IBF.
IBF, yeah.
And when you say world title, it's
Right.
the UFC's title.
Okay, got
Okay?
it. Yeah.
You fight for CES's MMA title, you're fighting for CES's title. If you fight, but we can announce it as world.
Right.
Okay? So what they had to do is clean up a lot of things.
Interesting,
You
yeah.
know, they had to clean up a lot of situations where some things are conflict of interest and stuff, but we were sanctioned, we were regulated strongly for so many years we know, before we make a bout,
Right.
we need, you're the commissioner, we need to present that to you.
Okay.
You need to authorize that.
Wow.
You can say, yes, okay. Well, Jimmy, you want a 15-0 kid to fight a kid that's 2-12? Can't do it.
Okay.
It's too lopsided.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. This 2-12, look who he's fought.
Right.
Look what he's done. Look, he's fought all undefeated fighters. So I got young Patrick Sullivan.
Yeah.
After we went through 3 or 4 matchmakers. Supposed to be the best around.
Right.
I have you fighting. You just sold 500 tickets.
Right.
And my matchmaker tells me the opponent's not going to show up. No, we're going to control it ourselves.
Okay.
So I trained Patrick Sullivan, and he has done an exceptional job.
Nice.
He has done, and we know when we have a fight, and the fighters relate to him. The fighters relate to my son Jimmy, the attorney, and Patrick on the MMA side. It's like a locomotive.
Nice.
It's just keeps rolling along. And as you can see, you and I would never be here today on your show if you and Jimmy Jr. didn't connect and start talking.
And thanks to Patrick, you got some photos
over
too.
And thanks to Patrick on getting the photos. So what it is they make it so easy for me.
Right.
I go sit down at an MMA show. And I just watch the event.
You just enjoy it.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
They make it simple for me.
Right.
And I sometimes, and I want them to understand on how much I appreciate the great job that they're doing.
Yeah.
There's a young guy in my office, Fred Blank.
Yep.
He started with me as an intern from Johnson & Wales University.
Yep.
Stood with me all the way. He knows matches like unbelievable. He can go to the MMA world.
Right.
And he can pull up names. What I love also about the MMA world, you ask someone 15, 16 years old who the champion is, or who this MMA fight, they know them.
Right.
I asked them, a younger, in the boxing world, who is the heavyweight champion of the world?
Right.
They don't know it.
Yeah.
We need to educate them.
Right.
So what we're doing and what my team has been able to do is try to gel both of them together.
Nice.
MMA people, let's come and watch boxing.
Right.
Boxing people, let's come and watch MMA. Even the fighters, they're supporting each other.
That's good.
This is one team.
Nice.
As doctors are working now, business and corporate world is working, it's teamwork.
Nice.
I have the greatest team in combat sports working for Classic Entertainment and Sports.
That's great, because I've been to both boxing and MMA at Twin River for CES, and I like that because then you say, I'm having such a good time here for this MMA, but the MMA fight may not be for another 6 weeks or another 4 weeks.
Right.
Wait a minute, you got a boxing fight in 2 or 3 weeks, so I'll just come back for that, and then, you know what I mean?
And what I think we've done and educated from my team to fans and even to the fighters is, listen, you need to go out and market yourself.
Right.
You need to, we're going to have a tremendous rally press conference Thursday night in Worcester.
Right.
Okay? There'll be a couple hundred people there. All right? Because the fighters themselves, as you know now, Mike, everything is social networking, everything, and these kids get it.
Right.
If they don't, I instill it into them. They won't be fighting for us.
Right.
Because this is now a business. This is how we pay the bills.
Right.
Listen, whether it be Twin River, Foxwoods, Mohegan, wherever it be, if we don't fill up that arena, they're not going to invite us back.
Another butt every 12 inches.
There you go. So
yeah, let's check out some fight photos. I think we're going to cue them up, and I think it was our. Here's the nice logo. That's a really nice logo. CES MMA. Here's a kind of perspective.
Yeah, this is Twin River, and there isn't a bad seat there.
Right.
And actually on this opposite side, and I don't know if there's another video, you'll see we have bleachers for the for the MMA shows also, and you can see the excitement. You can see the two fighters there. Up on the top on the left, that's our official That's the TV. We
Right.
we were able to do Jimmy, my son Jimmy, the attorney. He was able to get us a contract with. We all know Mark Cuban, who he is.
Oh, yeah.
He's got 2 excellent TV companies, and we were able to do a long-term deal with Access TV that shows our MMA side.
Nice. Let's see the next photo. Here's a fighter getting
I
ready
love
for-
this kid.
Yeah.
This kid is Joey Pignatore. He just fights just like Vinny Paz fights in boxing.
Right.
Like Mike Tyson. He just lets it all go.
Scrapper. Yeah.
Was he born with the greatest of talent? Probably not.
Right.
But as you could see up there, lights out Pignatore up. If he was alone fighting, you'd want to buy a ticket.
Right, him and the broom.
He just gives it everything he's
Right.
got. Great kid too.
Now here's a vicious knockout. Looks
This
like.
is Louis Felix. Louis
Yep.
Felix, again, was a great athlete in college and everything, and he's been one of our most exciting fighters. He's scored some of the. He's got it all. He can grapple. He can be on the mat. He can fight. He's got a great coach, boxing coach, in Vic Fagnant, and he's exciting to watch.
Yep.
One of our favorites.
Now here's a showdown. It was to be a weigh-in or a promotional.
Yeah, this kid on the left is the one that was undefeated that got beat.
Wow.
And that's Patrick Sullivan there on the left.
Okay, great.
And in back of him is Michael Parenti. Yeah, the way you see this stare down right here is the way they fought the whole fight.
Wow,
yeah,
intense.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got next. Okay, here's a close-up of the glove. And is
We were able to get a sponsor that we have our own gloves. It's Hub Boxing equipment. You can buy this stuff at Eater Boxing. Zach is the owner. He's a great young man. We have a great partnership with them. And, you know, with the MMA gloves and the boxing gloves, they're great souvenirs. So we love working with Hub Boxing.
Nice. Here's a nice belt, championship belt.
That's something that every fighter works their heart out. And what we do at Classic Entertainment and Sports, we give each athlete the ability, if they want to give as much as we give,
Right.
to have a chance of fighting for that belt.
Nice. Here's a really nice shot, some good action. And credit here to Will Paul, the photographer.
Yeah, Will Paul is our official CES photographer. He takes all of the films and these films that you see here. This is one of our favorite fighters here on the right, and consequently he had a big win on this night.
Nice. Here's a nice shot of the mat of the cage.
And again, and thanks to Will Paul, and that's Access TV up there, Mark Cuban's network. And as we can see, I'm sure everybody followed D. Strong, our little boy that died of cancer, which was our champion, will always be our champion. And Pat Sullivan really took a hold of how we got this up and running with, in fact, his father still comes to almost every one of our events. I say a prayer to him every single day.
Right. Nice. Oh, wow, look at this shot, huh?
Yeah, this was another. Now, where, you know, when you look at the professionalism of Will Paul, because you need to know how to do this.
Right.
There is this guy on the left. I can't think of his name right now, but he. This is where I wish I had Pat or Jimmy here, but you know, he's just ready to go into be knocked right out of the picture. There's.
Nice.
This is it. Look, how could you beat not being there?
I've been there, folks.
I mean,
I've enjoyed it.
How could you not see this excitement?
Yeah, it's
you
great.
know,
It's
it's
great.
unbelievable.
Now we're going to take a look at some MMA. We've got some highlights, and we're going to check it out right now from CES.
Sure.
Here is our Situate Chiropractic Center's tail to tape. 3 rounds in the featherweight division. Dennis Paiva comes in at 4-5 with 1 knockout, fighting out of East Providence, Rhode Island. He takes on the veteran Joe Cushman, 11-5 with 3 knockouts, fighting out of Bridgewater, Mass.
Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, weighing in at 135 pounds, with a professional record of 11 wins, 5 losses, 3 wins coming by way of knockout. Hailing from Bridgewater, Massachusetts, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Cushman. And fighting out of the red corner, weighing in at 135 pounds, fighting in his 10th professional fight, hailing from Providence, Rhode Island, ladies and gentlemen, Dennis Sweetbread Paiva! Your referee is Kevin McDonald.
Mike Parenti, Scott Ream joining you cage side from CES MMA 24 live from Twin River Casino.
Wow, Sweetbread connects right off the bat, the short little combination. Oh, there's a straight left by Paul. Wow, he's right on him.
Paiva catches Cushman with the left hand, drops Cushman right on his backside.
Now this is where Cush is very dangerous. He's got an excellent ground game, but then he's not letting him breathe at the moment.
Looks like some blood coming from that lip of Joe Cushman, most likely courtesy of that left from Dennis Paiva. Great action here to start off this featherweight bout. Paiva now upstairs with a head kick. Big right hand, Cushman's out.
Whoa!
What a win for Dennis Paiva. He knocks Cushman cold, and easily the biggest win of Dennis Paiva's career in his 10th bout here at Twin River Casino. What a finish.
That is the best Dennis Paiva we've seen.
No question about it. That's as sharp as he's looked in any fight we've ever seen. And we've seen a lot of Dennis Paiva through the years, just knocking out Joe Cushman, overwhelming him from the start. The left hand early on didn't finish him, but the right hand certainly did. What a way to celebrate your 10th bout, your 10th anniversary. Dennis Paiva does it in stunning fashion. We barely had time to even settle down here before this fight ended. And I'll tell you what,
Dennis came out of the gate hot.
Yes, he did. Dennis Paiva mentioned before this bout how he has switched up his training camps, working with CCFA, the Cape Cod Fighting Alliance, left behind Matt Santos, who he began his career with, always stuck around with Keith Allen, his manager. And he even said himself this was the best he felt coming into a fight, and it certainly showed here in the cage tonight. What a win. Joe Cushman still reeling, trying to make it back to his feet. Here's the replay, Scott. We're going to see how this all went down.
You see it's a short clipping right hand, right hook, but it was 2 straight follow-ups, a straight right and a hammer fist. But that's the end of the fight. You're going to see earlier in the beginning, there's your clip that drops him, moving in, 2 more strikes. But it was earlier, he was rocked earlier. Cush got knocked around earlier and recovered pretty well, but I don't think he was 100%. Dennis kept his composure, kept the pressure, and really, that was a pinpoint right hook.
We mentioned during the intro, Scott, that Dennis Paiva certainly had his share of up and downs in MMA, lost the fight by disqualification. He's had some tough losses on his resume. Could very easily have been 5-4 coming in tonight instead of 4-5, but now he's 5-5, and it really puts in perspective.
5-5 with a win over Joe Cushman was 11-5. Huge step up. Mikey,
Yeah.
like we said, you were just saying, coming through on the way, on the walk-in, what Dennis Paiva is going to show up. He's always had the potential. He's always had the skill set. Maybe he found a home. Maybe he found the right camp and the right people around him. Maybe every peg fell into place. I want to see more of that.
You're right, Scott. When it all comes together, that's how it looks in the cage. Let's send it down to Adam Palazzo for the particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner with 49 seconds in round number 1 by knockout, Dennis Sweetbread Paiva!
Welcome back to Messier Mancha. We're wrapping up with Mr. Jimmy Burchfield Sr. It's been a real pleasure talking. We're going to have you back, but we could talk more sometime, you know?
We'd love to come back here. You got a great studio here.
Yeah, thanks to Cody and Kevin and
Yeah,
Lucy.
you got a great team here also.
Yes, definitely.
We'd like to do more things here.
I think we will.
Okay.
Yeah. And now we have a question. Messier Mantra is all about the mantra of the guest. We ask you, do you have something on your desk, maybe a reminder or a slogan or expression you've come up with, or a favorite quote? Do you have anything like that?
Yes, I have a quote that means an awful lot to me. Get up every day and give it your best.
I like it. I like it. Is that a Jimmy original, or is that something?
That's something both my son Jimmy and I practice.
Nice. Nice.
Every day.
You have to.
Yep.
Because if you don't, then you're down for the count, so to speak.
Correct.
And CES MMA, it's really cool to hear about the formation of it, the history, where you guys are headed for 2016, 2017, and beyond. And I've enjoyed it. I've gone to the fights a few times, and just to feel, like you said, the ambiance, you know.
The excitement and the enthusiasm at being there as a fan is just, you know, I'm not saying that a casino atmosphere doesn't help too.
Right.
Because there's so many other things to do.
Right.
At Twin River, you have, you know, free parking, acres of free parking. You got food courts, inexpensive, to very expensive restaurants if you want to go. So it's a night of entertainment. That's what we want to give to you.
Very cool. Well, Jimmy Burchfield Sr., thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Messier Mantra with our special guest, Jimmy Burchfield Sr. of CES MMA and CES Boxing. We'll see you next time, right here on Messier Mantra.